It's not so often that I come across a vehicle that's both uniquely styled while being utterly pointless at the same time. Today, let's take a look at exactly that. This is a 2013 Mini Paceman. Now, the Paceman is actually an all-new model for 2013. It's actually based off of the same platform as the Countryman, which in turn is based off of the same platform as the company's main vehicle, the Cooper. Now, when Mini introduced the Countryman in 2011, it basically took the Cooper platform, it raised it up, made it a little bit wider, made it a little bit taller, gave it a real back seat where families could actually use it, and the Paceman is essentially just a two-door version of the Countryman. Now, the Countryman's actually a really good vehicle for Mini. It's been a really big sales success, offering the practicality that people really wanted the brand to offer. So that basically makes me question, why would you offer something like the Paceman where you would decrease the passenger room and the space in the back seat and make it totally impractical? Now, with that being said, Mini actually does book this vehicle as the biggest coupe that they build. There's also the Mini Cooper Coupe, which is a lot smaller than this vehicle, and the Paceman does offer all-wheel drive, in case those of you need the all-wheel drive function. But at the same time, it's a very interesting vehicle. You can see it basically has the same bubbly, like weird-looking front of the Countryman, and then of course at the side profile here, the roof line has been dropped a little bit, especially going toward the back, to try and give it that sleek coupe look. Those black wheels actually look really good with the black. And looking at the back here, this one is the Cooper S. There's actually it's the Paceman S. There's actually three models. There's the Paceman regular or base, I guess, the Paceman S, and then the John Cooper Works, which is essentially the performance version. Now, being that this is a Mini, which is built by BMW, this vehicle does start in the mid 20s, but the price can quickly jump up with options. The Cooper S, like this one, starts at about $27,000. Now, checking out the interior, it's an environment that's really familiar if you guys know Minis. There are a couple elements that are different versus the Countryman or the Cooper, but because this one is based off of the Countryman, the ride height is a little bit higher, so you don't have to fall into the vehicle or duck your head like the Countryman, like the Cooper. Now, this vehicle does have push to start right there, but it's actually not intelligent access. Here's the key for the vehicle. It's similar to a BMW without the comfort access package. You have to insert the key in the ignition there, and then put your foot on the brake, and then push the button to start the engine. And what you're hearing is a rather throaty 1.6 liter turbocharged four-cylinder. I'll get into that the engine later in the video. But you can see shutting the door. The window switches have actually been relocated to the actual door. I like that. Most of the other Minis will put them right down there, which I don't like. But the window is automatic up-down for the driver and the front passenger. So it's nice that they do that. I mean, the vehicle only has two doors, so they should. Now, the interior design is just as unique as the exterior. You have this Mickey Mouse looking center stack here with this huge giant dinner plate of a speedometer with your radio controls underneath. Your climate controls are down here. Your power door lock switch is here. You have a dedicated sport button here. Fog lights, heated seats. The interior materials in here, this is a pretty expensive vehicle when it's loaded up. And it's soft touch, the materials here. This right here actually feels very cheap to me, but at least the fit and finish in here is decently solid. I'm not really a fan of the design aesthetics of this interior. It's not really my taste. The door panels are soft touch on the upper portion right here. Some piano black plastic trim. Leather stitching right here where your elbow is going to rest. The steering wheel has a nice fat bolstering extension. It's leather wrapped. You have steering wheel mounted paddle shifters, cruise control, and Bluetooth controls right there. A 6-speed automatic transmission is the transmission that this one has. It's optional. You can get this car with a 6-speed manual. When you put it in reverse, there is no backup camera on this car, even though this one's pretty well equipped. This is the parking brake for the vehicle. It's quite interesting, actually. I like the design of it. I mean, it's kind of like this big old lever, although I do notice it gets really close to the armrest when you pull it up. Speaking of the armrest, it does lift up. There's a nice little phone holder here and sunglass holder. There's a tiny center console there, and then your USB and your auxiliary port is right there. You can see on the Cooper S, this one has the leatherette seats. They have thicker bolsters because it's the S model, and then of course you have this really nice big panoramic sunroof that lets in a little bit more light. Now, checking out the back seat of the Paceman, this is where the Countryman makes more sense. The Countryman is available with these two bucket seats, but you can also get a bench as well. The Paceman only comes with the bucket seats, so this thing is only a 4-passenger vehicle. You can see getting back here and then actually moving the seat back, the legroom here is pretty cut back, especially from the Countryman. And really, you should only put people who are of shorter stature back here. I like how there's some cup holders here. There's like some interesting storage. The materials back here are actually hard touch plastic with at least a padded armrest right here where your elbow's gonna rest. Now opening up the cargo capacity will reveal about 15 cubic feet of space. Fold them down, you're gonna get about 39 cubic feet of space. It's more than the Coupe, which offers only about 24 cubic feet, but it's a little bit smaller than some of its competition still. Let's take a peek at what's going on under the hood. You'll find Minis, basically their corporate 1.6-liter turbocharged direct injection 4-cylinder engine. You'll find this in any Mini that has the S designation. The numbers are 181 horsepower and 177 pound-feet of torque. If you guys go for the John Cooper Works, it basically ups the boost. It produces 208 horsepower as opposed to the 181. Fuel economy is actually 26 in the city and 32 on the highway. On premium gas, of course, running through that 6-speed automatic with power going to the front wheels on this particular one, but you guys can get all-wheel drive in this car if you want it. Let's take a look at how it drives. So the Mini brand is pretty much synonymous with having go-kart-like ride and handling. So if they build us a vehicle that's a little bit taller up, a little bit bigger, does that affect the fun-to-drive performance that Minis are known for? Let's find out. Now that little 1.6 liter is quite a potent engine. I was actually quite surprised the moment I put my foot down on that accelerator pedal. This thing is a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, but it feels pretty quick still. Now it may only have 181 horsepower, but it definitely feels a little bit quicker than that. I expect a 0 to 60 time of maybe around 7 seconds for this vehicle. It weighs about 3,000 pounds, which is probably about 500 pounds heavier than like a regular Mini. Obviously my transmission of choice would be the 6-speed manual, but the 6-speed automatic is not a bad partner. It has decently quick shifts. I had it in the sport mode there, so it does hold the gears a little bit longer. It shifts a little bit quicker. Now if I take it out of sport mode here and let's try to just drive it like how most people do, the Mini Paceman definitely is a lot softer than a Cooper. One of my biggest complaints with Minis is just how harshly they ride. I mean, they're very small, short vehicles. They have a short wheelbase and they crash over bumps. They have go-kart handling, but really their ride quality is where it also feels like a go-kart. And this thing doesn't feel that bad. It does feel a little bit sportier than the Countryman, just because this car is a little bit lower to the ground. Its handling is good. The steering offers really good amount of precision. The feel is a little bit numb, but man, this thing just changes direction. So that go-kart-like steering is still preserved with the Mini Paceman. Now, going around corners, this is probably where the Mini brand is really well known for. And the Paceman has a little bit more body lean than the Cooper, just because it's taller up and it offers all-wheel drive. But in terms of how it compares to the rest of like a small SUV competition, this thing feels like a car. It feels like a sporty car, essentially. Now with 177 pound-feet of torque, if you guys go for the front drive model like this one, you can expect a little bit of torque steer, just a tad. It's not as bad as some of the sport compacts, like if you're going to drive like a Focus ST or a Mazda Speed 3. And then of course the front tires will lose grip when you get hard on the throttle. So I would recommend the all-wheel drive system if you guys live in an area that has a lot of, I guess, snow or bad weather. That being said, everything else about this car is actually not bad considering the platform that it's based on. The visibility is good. This thing is still pretty small. It's actually only about 161 inches long, so it's about the size of your average subcompact car. It just feels a lot taller. You sit a little bit higher up, so those of you who want something unique like that, who want the footprint of a subcompact but want a little bit of that higher seating position of an SUV, this certainly offers something unique. Now in terms of the competition, the Mini Paceman doesn't have much in terms of competition. The Nissan Juke is probably a big competitor for this vehicle, although the Juke has 4 doors, which would essentially be competing with the Mini Countryman. I mean, basically this thing is for somebody who says, I don't want a Countryman because I don't want 4 doors, I don't need it, but I like the all-wheel drive. Let's face it, how many all-wheel drive SUVs that are 2 doors are out there? I mean, Land Rover has one, their Range Rover Evoque. Isuzu had one, but that thing is long gone. I mean, a 2-door crossover SUV is a very niche car, and that's the reason why you don't see very many on the market. And the Mini Paceman certainly offers that uniqueness from the Mini brand itself, but it's also a very odd vehicle, and it's, for most enthusiasts, this is kind of like a really impractical and pointless vehicle. But surprisingly, so there are some people out there who look for something like this. Now that engine, it definitely is potent, but one area that I'm not really quite fond of is its refinement. It's a little bit noisy, a little bit buzzy. For the amount of money that Mini charges for this vehicle, I kind of think the refinement needs to be upped a little bit. I understand it's a 1.6, but just the new price ranges of the new Minis. Speaking of price, this thing is pretty expensive. Now, you could buy a base Mini Paceman for about $23,000. That'll net you the non-turbo 1.6 with only 120 horsepower. Now, it is 200 pounds lighter than this. However, this thing is still is a dog with the base engine. I would probably say skip it. If you want the turbo engine upgrade like this one, it's going to cost you at least 27,000 bucks. Add in some, normal options like nav, if you want the sunroof, if you want real leather. It's going to push you over 30 grand for the vehicle like this. And if you guys want the ultimate performance Paceman, the John Cooper Works, that starts at least $35,000. Now that makes this car really, really expensive. It's pretty much more expensive than a lot of its competitors. I mean, you can get, for $35,000, you can get pretty much a mid-size or a fully loaded compact SUV that offers way more practicality. But then again, the Mini brand offers its own uniqueness to it. I mean, this is a niche car, and it certainly has its own qualities that make it appealing to a certain buyer. Well, all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my overview of this 2013 Mini Cooper Paceman. If you guys are one of the few people that want a two-door crossover SUV that's fun to drive still, that's pretty small on the outside, this vehicle is certainly worth a look. Those of you who need some more practicality, check out Mini's own Countryman. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all later.